Right. Picture this, mate. There's a room behind the garage stalls, a laptop, and on that screen is a set of squiggly lines that most fans have never laid eyes on. Throttle, brake, steering, gear, every input, every driver, every lap laid bare. And buried in those traces, the SMT data is a gap NASCAR does not want to talk about on the Sunday broadcast. Because here's the thing, when Toyota rocked up in 2026 and started flat out dominating, everyone reckoned it was just the normal cycle. Manufacturers take turns, yeah? But then a splitter part got quietly changed at North Wilkesboro. No press conference, no big announcement, just gone. And a bloke named Brad Keselowski jumped on Twitter and said, and I'm quoting here, "This didn't really get any media play, but was a big deal." A big deal from a former champion and a team owner. So today we're pulling the thread, the Toyota splitter stuffer story, what the leaked telemetry actually shows, and why even Shane Van Gisbergen's secret sauce is now sitting on a hard drive for the whole field to copy. If you're here for the engineering truth, the stuff the TV won't touch, you're part of the crew. If you just want highlights and vibes, mate, the casual channel is that way, no hard feelings. Let's get into it. First, let's get everyone on the same page. What is SMT? SMT stands for Sports Media Technology, launched properly back in 2018 for full team access. It takes GPS position and a handful of channels off every car throttle position, brake application, steering angle, and what gear they're in, and it makes it available to the broadcast, to the fans, and crucially, to every single rival team in the paddock. Now, it's not the full Monty, it's not your setup sheet, it's not your sim data, it's not your engine maps, that stuff stays locked down, but the driver inputs, those are on the table for everyone. Here's why that matters. Imagine you overlay two cars through turn 3 at 1.5 miles. Same corner, same lap. The Ford lifts. You see the green throttle line dip, the driver's backing out because the car's getting loose, the back end stepping out. He hasn't got the grip to stay planted. Now watch the other trace. The car that's just flat, throttle pinned, no lift, same corner, same speed, but he's not scrubbing a thing. That right there is the tell, because a driver can only keep his foot buried if the car is giving him the downforce to do it. You can't just be braver. Physics doesn't care how brave you are. If the front end isn't sticking, you lift or you crash. So when one manufacturer's traces show throttle application that shouldn't be possible on that setup flatter earlier, more committed than the bloke beside him, the data's screaming one word, downforce. Somebody's found grip the others haven't, and the SMT traces are the fingerprint. That's the puzzle. Now let's talk about where Toyota allegedly found it. Quick one, and then straight back into it. I checked our own numbers. Roughly 70% of you watching this right now are lurking. You're soaking up the insider data, the traces, the splitter story, but you haven't actually joined the crew. No drama. But hitting that subscribe button is the only reason we can keep doing these deep dive investigations instead of lazy highlight reels. It costs you nothing. It keeps the technical truth alive. Hit it. Then let's talk about the splitter. Okay, the splitter stuffer story, and this is where it gets juicy. So on Kevin Harvick's Happy Hour podcast, a fella dropped a comment about Penske, and Joey Logano said there was a little adjustment with the nose of the car with the splitter that might help their downforce program. Little adjustment, he said, sounded like nothing, but the NASCAR faithful smelled blood and they went straight to Bob Pockrass, the man who actually knows things for clarity. And Pockrass confirmed it. Starting at North Wilkesboro, every team had to add struts to the front of the splitter. Why? Because of a flex in the splitter that was discovered by Toyota. Let me translate that into human speak. The splitter is that shelf sticking out the front right down near the tarmac. At speed, the air rushing over the car pushes down on it, and if that splitter can flex, if it can bend down and seal itself closer to the road, you create this beautiful low-pressure zone underneath. The car gets sucked to the ground. More suck, more grip, more downforce. That's your flat throttle trace, mate. That's the green line that wouldn't lift. So the story goes, Toyota's splitter was flexing in a way that gave them front grip nobody else had. Legal or not, NASCAR looked at it and went, Yeah, nah. Everyone's bolting on struts to stop that movement. Look, let's be real for a sec. This isn't just racing anymore, it's a digital arms race. Some teams brought a supercomputer and a wind tunnel, and some teams brought a knife to a gunfight. Now, here's the kicker, and I'll be honest with you because that's what the crew's for. The struts went on, and Toyota still won. At North Wilkesboro, they grabbed 4 of the top 6. At Indy, the Brickyard, they finished 1, 2, 4, and 5. So did the struts actually kill the advantage, or did Toyota just have more in the bag? Even Keselowski admitted the real proof won't show up until the mile and a halves in the chase. North Wilkesboro, Indy, Richmond, Loudon, those are Ford tracks anyway. So the jury's genuinely still out, and that's exactly why the story isn't over. Now, here's where it gets personal for the Aussie contingent watching. Gather round Shane Van Gisbergen, 3-time Supercars champ, the bloke who won on his Cup debut on the streets of Chicago and made the whole American paddock spit their coffee out. On the road courses, SVG is on another planet. And here's the uncomfortable bit, because SMT is open, everyone can pull up his throttle, brake, and steering traces and study exactly how he's doing it. His heel and toe wizardry, his breaking points, his mad late apex lines, all of it sitting there for the whole field to reverse engineer. But, and this is the beautiful part, it cuts both ways. Because on the ovals, SVG is the one doing the studying. In his own words, before Richmond, he said he had the race replay running with the SMT up on the screen at the same time, and he said he's doing less and less sim and more video stuff. And who is he studying? Denny Hamlin and Ross Chastain. He said Hamlin's style is very unique, the way he's mainly using a different gear and stabbing at the throttle. Techniques SVG reckoned he'd never even come across before. Think about that. A 3-time champion learning ovals like a clean sheet of paper, literally copying another man's gear selection off a data screen. Which brings us to the big question, crew. Is it fair that a driver's secret sauce, the thing that makes him special, is handed to his rivals for free? One camp says no way. They call it the NFL problem. It's like forcing the offense to hand the defense their playbook before every snap. When everyone can copy the fast bloke's exact throttle pickup, everyone starts driving identically. And when the cars are already spec and the drivers all drive the same line, you get a 40-car freight train and no passing. They reckon it's killing the mystery, killing the art of it. The other camp, and they've got a point, says it barely matters. As one sharp fan put it, knowing where Hamlin brakes is useless if your car physically can't brake that late. You can have all the SMT in the world, but if you can't execute it every single lap, it's just a pretty graph. That's why they called it Harvicking. Back in the day, everyone could copy Harvick's Atlanta line once, but only he could do it every lap for 500 miles. So is SMT a leak that's homogenizing the sport, or is it just data that separates the great from the good? That's the real war, and it's got nothing to do with Toyota. Right, we're 2 minutes from the verdict. If you want to be the most informed fan in your group chat, the one who actually knows what a splitter strut is while everyone else is arguing about crashes, you need to be part of the Trackline crew. Subscribe now, hit the bell, because my next report is on the wind tunnel numbers that are leaking out of these teams, and mate, that one's even bigger than this. Bell on. Let's finish. So, the million-dollar question, is NASCAR rigged or is it just optimized to death? Here's my honest read, crew. It's not rigged. There's no smoky room where officials hand Toyota a trophy. What there is a sport that's become so transparent, so data-drenched, that the moment anyone finds an edge, it's on a screen within the hour. Toyota found a flexing splitter. It showed up in the throttle traces. Fans spotted it. Pockrass confirmed it. NASCAR strutted it out of existence. That's not corruption. That's the system working brutally, publicly, in real time. But here's the cost. When everything is visible, every input, every trick, every driver's genius, the mystery starts to die. The magic of a driver who's just different gets flattened into a line on a graph that anyone can copy. SVG's brilliance, Hamlin's weird gear stabbing, Toyota's clever nose, all of it exposed the second it works. So it's not rigged, it's just naked. And that leaves one question hanging. Keselowski told us the truth won't show until the mile and a halves in the chase. So when we hit that first big 1.5-mile playoff race with the struts bolted on and every rival now studying Toyota's traces line by line, does the advantage vanish? Or do the green throttle traces stay flat and prove Toyota never needed the splitter at all? I genuinely don't know yet, and that's what makes it cracking. So you tell me, crew, is SMT data a leak proprietary gold that should be locked away? Or is it a fair look that keeps the sport honest? Drop it in the comments. Give me your best technical take, break points, downforce theories, all of it. And I'll be down there replying to the sharpest ones myself. Trackline out. See you at the next one.